Welcome to the Washdown podcast, episode number 78. And tonight I sit down with guest Craig Cumpton and Billy Clark. Both those guys are Air Force veterans and currently firefighters. And we have a good talking about mental health and things that they have been through. Also talking about the program that they went through that helped them, The Battle Within, which we'll leave some links in the description, all that good stuff. So hope you enjoy the conversation. Hope you get something out of it. So without further ado, here is the Washdown podcast, episode number 78 with Craig Cumpton and Billy Clark. Doing that actually helped me. It was phenomenal. It put everything in place in my brain, really. I mean, obviously going through treatment and all that stuff helped out, but the neurofeedback, I think, doing it in the order that I did it really kind of cemented everything and helped. Because basically, you watched the episode, so she did a good job explaining it, but it's getting your brain operating how it's supposed to be. Like, when you need to be activated, you can be activated. Okay. And then but you're able to come back down. So.
Helps you self-regulate a lot better.
Yes.
That's the one thing I picked up from it that I was like, all right, that's something. I've read about it a little bit, but whenever I was listening to it, it was one of those things that when she was talking about it, I'm like, okay, this sounds kind of badass. I think I might want to try this.
Her contact information is on that.
Okay.
So send her an email, phone call, whatever. Just tell her that I sent you.
Cool.
So maybe tilt your mic just a little bit more towards your face.
Up or down?
Up. Yeah. There you go.
Good to go here?
Yeah, you're good.
I feel like sometimes I'm leaning in, so I might do like, no.
Trying to do what I do at work. Make sure it works.
Yeah. I'm the worst because somehow I bump it when I put them on. Then I don't know what headsets you guys, we have a bump right here that'll turn your mic off.
Uh-huh.
And then they have a different, like they can hot mic theirs to the dispatch, but mine as a driver just has the on off.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have that.
And I bump it. So I put them on and and then I'm talking. Everyone's like, we can't fucking hear you.
Yeah. We don't have headphones anymore.
Really?
Yeah. We didn't get them with the new rigs that we got 7-8 years ago.
Oh my goodness.
We had them with the ones before.
Yeah.
How do you hear?
You yell a lot. Nobody would wear them.
Oh, dude. Rescues have them?
I think Rescues are the only ones that don't ever wear them anymore. There's a couple companies.
Because you're in an F550, so you're like right there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't, me personally, the crew that I was on at the time, whenever we had them, my shift, we wore them every day, and it was phenomenal because we could talk back and forth to each other. I could call out directions from the back because I was the map book guy.
Yep, exactly.
And so I'm sitting there, take a right, take a left. Okay, and we're third house on the right. We're there. But it just got to the point where everybody else, there were a lot of companies where the headsets were getting taken off the rig. They were getting thrown in compartments and they were getting destroyed. And they just didn't replace them, and nobody said anything.
Ours look like they're from the 80s, but they work.
There's a lot of good stuff in the 80s.
And there's someone refurbishing them. It's because we'll send them off and they'll get fixed and come back. So
yeah. I 100% believe they're a good thing and totally endorse the use of them because I'm partially deaf in this ear because of not wearing them and listening to the freaking Federal while I'm driving.
Yeah, I didn't even think about the actual ear protection.
Yeah.
I was just talking about being able to hear and not yell. I mean, because even if I'm yelling at him, hey, turn left, he's like, okay, dick. Like, I know. But you're yelling, so.
You don't have to be Sam Jackson all the time.
Right.
Well, Billy, Craig, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it, bud.
Yeah.
So, who wants to go first? Who wants to be?
I'll go first. I probably drug him into some of this, so.
Oh, well, there you go.
From
the beginning.
From the beginning.
Yeah. Well, kind of vice versa. The fire service, I probably talked to Billy.
Yeah.
But the whole mental health thing, hey, you're being a dick without telling me he's being a dick. And then telling me he's being a dick.
Yeah. How many times did you have to try you're being a dick without being a dick before it was the dick thing?
I don't think we ever had the conversation of like, this is how you are. It was always like, hey, dude, this is what
This is what helped me.
Yeah. Like I saw this in myself, or someone said, hey, you're doing this and you probably don't realize it. And then I started seeing the same thing in Billy. Other guys asking, what's up with Billy? He seems a little, this way, that way. And so I finally just had a conversation, and then
it was like a month later, I called him and said, hey, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Yeah.
So yeah, history, background, mom, dad name, what do you need?
Start at the very beginning.
So, gosh.
No, man.
Me and this guy, we went to high school together. He was a couple years ahead of me, so knew each other then. You went off to the military.
After you did.
Yeah, after I did.
Yeah.
So I went aircraft structures, F-15, C-130s, lived in Alaska. Awesome. Not a cold weather person, so summers were cool, but winter sucked.
So what is aircraft structures?
So everything to do with airframe. So if you think of like the frame of a car, fenders, hinges, now take that to the aircraft world.
Okay.
Right. So except in nuts and bolts, it's rivets, different kind of fasteners like that. So
right. So you're like a body man for airplanes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Inspections. They call it corrosion control. Everyone else calls it the paint barn. But I did that for four years up in Elmendorf, and then went out to Whiteman for a couple years on the A-10, and then got the opportunity to go over to Saudi Arabia on a contract, and spent a little over a year and a half or so in Saudi Arabia doing that. And then that's when my fire service idea began. I had a buddy call, said, hey, we should use that GI Bill and go to the fire academy.
It's a great use of the GI Bill.
Yeah. So, and I knew his older brother was in the fire service, and he loved it. Always talked about, when you guys doing this? Stop messing around with that job and get this real job.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever, dude. And he calls, hey, let's do that. So I got a hold of his older brother. He sent me some books I'm sitting in the desert, so read some fire books, very, very exciting stuff. And then came back.
Collapse of a burning building, or
it was kind of funny because I called the school, Blue River. Had an awesome secretary at the time. I'm probably not there anymore, but anyway, called and said, hey, so and so, I'd like to use GI Bill, do the fire school. And she's like, all right, there's 2 spots left for this coming fall. I was like, okay, I want in one of them. She goes, okay, come up and sign this paperwork. I was like,
I'll be there in 27 hours.
I did the typical, can my mom do that? And she laughed, and I was like, well, I'm on the other side of the world right now, and my mom lives down the street. So like, if I can just get you an IOU, and she laughed, and she's like, yeah, have, whoever you need come up, and I got a slot in, and guess who wasn't there? Day one. My buddy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Bailed on you.
Yeah. I was like, cool, man. He ended up going a semester or 2 later. But anyway, so did that, and yeah, came in the fire service, ended up getting back in the military on the fire service side. Through a guy I worked with, he says, hey, getting ready to have a family. TRICARE is awesome. Training, all that stuff on the fire side with the Air Force is awesome. So that would be 2013 got back in, and went through the military side of things, fire school, all that stuff, and Rosecrans a couple years up north, smaller departments, and then my wife actually called me out. We have a guy that we work with now. He jumped from my department over, and she was like, oh, I didn't know they were hiring. Isn't that where you wanted to go? And I was like,
hint.
all comfortable as shit where I'm at,
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Fuck. So applied, got on, and then literally we're going through the training, the whole new guy stuff, and getting ready, got my assignments for training, and then I got my papers to deploy.
Oh.
And I had no idea. I wasn't like, they're saying, I'm like, okay, now I got to do this all over again, because I didn't know about, I hadn't deployed as a employee somewhere before.
Yeah.
So I had no idea how that worked. So end up, you're protected.
Yeah.
So I got through my training, and then literally the next day on an airplane off to military training, and then overseas. And came back, which the comeback process, I don't know if you were military or not, or
no.
The comeback process is abrupt. I went to Afghanistan for 6 months. Within a week from 6 days from being in Afghanistan to, hey, you're off for 30 days, and here's your wife and 2 kids.
I could see how that would be jarring.
Yeah,
and I'm surprised they don't do a little bit better job of transition.
There is a program. It's not a program. Yeah, it's air quote program. It's a checklist that they go through. That's a DOD. We're here to help you. We care. Get off the stage, check the box, do the thing. Right. They had a group. Probably my tipping point with the give a shit scale was I was in that program. It's a day. You have to go.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's a day. You have to go. And we have some sweet little old lady, some Nana, is there explaining art therapy and tables that are 1.5 feet off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And
something that you're super ready to hear.
Yeah. And I think that she probably does that on the civilian side.
Mm-hmm.
People who have signed up for programs or whatever in their own situations. And now here we are checking a box, and you've got guys who from all different branches who just fit this time frame.
Yeah.
And now you're sitting at a table with an Army guy, a Marine, and Nana's telling you, so if you cut shapes and you feel this way, and you're like, there's a bar. If I take 3 steps out to the right, Nana's already checked me in. So I don't need to do circles and squares and, you know. So got absolutely nothing out of that program for some reason.
I can't imagine why.
Yeah. So came back working with fire department. That helped. I mean, being around other shitheads,
Mm-hmm. Similar atmosphere.
Yeah. It wasn't like I was like pouring my heart out, but you come in, get some, guy rips on you, joking, and you're like, oh, okay, you kind of fall back into the fold there, and it was awesome. But started getting back, also going back to drill, and a lot of those same frustrations started coming up. Basically, being in a fire department that runs calls, legit stuff, and then going and doing computer-based training on how to put an AC unit in a tent when we don't do that.
Yeah.
That all of that stuff. Super frustrating, and anyhow, so ended up going to us. I can't remember what drill it was, but anyway, we go, and it's someone had gotten in trouble, someone had gotten a DUI or whatever, and so the drill. As soon as that happens, it's all hands on deck. We're gonna do don't drink and drive class, don't drink and do this, don't do drugs, don't do and then at the end you get an E1 who got suckered into doing the process or the PowerPoint. And today we're gonna talk about suicide, and you're like, what?
Yeah. Again, you're checking a box.
Right. And the guy talking is scared shitless. It's his first day back since basic. He got literally roll of shit downhill. He goes, hey, do you know how to work a clicker? Yeah.
That's called delegation.
Yeah. That's a big ball of shit when it gets to the bottom.
Yeah, it is.
So sat through that. The next day, pretty much the same thing. And we have a mutual friend on the police side. I worked Friday, off work, go to drill Saturday, Sunday, come back on Monday. Monday we roll in, and I'm like, oh, I'm back at the firehouse, shooting the shit, doing the thing, and I come back and, hey, we got this suicide prevention training, and I just like, fuck this, like, let's do another check the box situation, right? So we go, and it's at one of our stations, and we go, and the guy's doing his thing, and he's talking, and I'm not engaged at all. I'm out looking at cars on Marketplace, whatever, and he has a slide up on the PowerPoint, which is the absolute best training you can do. PowerPoint, by the way. And I just glanced up, and the first thing, I don't remember what they all said, but I was like, oh, fucking check that, yeah. And then go back to, I'm doing this slide still up there, and he's talking, and someone's actually engaging with him.
Yeah. You always got one.
Yeah.
You got that one person in training that asks
probably,
questions.
in hindsight, was probably like, that guy was asking legit questions, and I'm like, just roll on with the thing so we can go. And so I sit there and I look up again, and I'm like, oh, yeah, check that one. Check that, man. Fuck. Check. Yep. Or maybe I should pay attention. Maybe. So about the last 15 minutes, I actually listened, and then I go up to the guy afterwards. I'm like, hey, I'm asshole number one. Like, I haven't listened to shit you've been saying, but I want to know what you've been saying. So if you could redo this. No, so
give me the cliff notes.
Yeah, so he basically, he handed me the pamphlet, he handed me a card, call me, whatever, So kicked around that card in my wallet for a little while. A weird series of events kind of happened. We had an outside training opportunity come up, and I signed up for it. Again, I was back with the fire service, and this was legit training. And it was put on by guys who wanted to train, who wanted to do new things, and see what's out there in the fire service that's doable realistically. Mm-hmm. And so signed up for it. Had some time off with the department that I could attend, and so Monday they do like all the lectures, So roll in. I can't remember where it's at, but anyway, roll in. Nice auditorium. Roll in. The guys are talking like, hey, we have a speaker coming for lunch. We're providing lunch, and we had a speaker coming. Former Navy SEAL, has a nonprofit for basically first responder military burn victims. And so super awesome guy came in, talked, to us, with us at our level, was saying all the things that made sense, for how he connected. And then a lot of guys had questions, what about this, what about that? And he kind of hit on one thing about like getting help when he got out. And it was like it was just a little mention, and I was like, oh shit, okay. I mean, this guy's a Navy SEAL, they're bulletproof, right? Like, mm-hmm. And this dude's talking about he's frustrated. Okay. But he just nonchalant. He was like, yep, that's this, and bam bam, went through it. This is what I did. I got help, and I was like, fuck, okay, so now there's two seats, mm-hmm. And I think it was that night or the next night they do the social down at Downtown Boulevard. They do the fundraising part of it, right? Mm-hmm. And you go, and people are bidding on things and whatever. And I see this particular guy up at the bar. He's asking for a water. So I'm like, don't drink, what? So go up, introduce myself, ask him a couple questions about what he's got to do around Kansas City, shooting the shit, and then kind of just leaned in. I was like, dude, what was that piece you were talking about with, coming back frustrated and talk to someone? And he just nonchalantly, just any other conversation was like, okay, talking about it. And, it kind of hit some points that I was frustrated with. I'm like, I'm pee on nobody, and Navy SEAL, how, same frustrations and things. And so I just asked, I had that guy's card in my pocket, and I was like, hey man, what do you think? I don't know what kind of program you went through. I said, but this guy just presented to our department. So have you ever heard of it? Is it a like-minded program? And one of his guys had come over, they were catching a flight, and he's like, hey, gotta go. And I was like, I felt like, personally, I was like, oh, this is the
brush off,
the dish the date. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'll send a guy a text, you act like we gotta go. And he's like, hey, write your number on the back of this card. I'll check it out and I'll give you a call. I'm flying back in town, wife pregnant, all this stuff.
Yeah.
So in between all that, what we had talked about was potty training. And in my mind, I go, I got a Navy SEAL right here. And we're talking, I biffed it.
Of all the things you could talk about.
Yeah.
Like cars, whatever, you know. I'm not a gun guy, but I can fake it, right?
Yeah.
Oh, the thing, cool.
Yeah.
Potty training. Right. And so I'm like, fuck, brushed off. Good. A slick move. Cool. But no shit. The next day, guy calls. Whoa. All right. And he says, hey, I checked it out. Seems like it's a kind of a similar program that he had went through. And he had looked it up. He says, hey, they have a date available in like 2 weeks. I was like, all right, are you going? He's like, no, dipshit.
That's for
That's
you,
an
dumbass.
opportunity. Yeah. And so I was like, oh, yeah, okay, back to me. So he said, but do me a favor. Don't look into it. Don't ask about it. Whatever you're going to do, you're going to devalue it, right? You're going to find a reason not to go, right? Yeah. He goes, fill out the thing, sign up, wait, go. Everything down to the day that morning. Like, I had gotten a week off of work. I go down. My wife at that time had started working from home. I go down to the office and shooting the shit, and she's like, so you ready? And I was like, maybe I got a week off.
Yeah.
You can work from anywhere. Let's go on a vacation, you know? And she's like, not with your dumbass. You know, it's like, it's going to be
for her.
It's going to be a vacation with you gone, you know? So yeah. All right. So I didn't have shit else to do. Got there early, you know, first, second guy there. And, luckily, you know, I took the guy's advice, seemed to know what he's talking about. Didn't know anything about diaper training, potty training. So, but he knew about this. So, went through, dove in, and he's like, you know, he had told me, go through Friday, give me a call back, let me know what you think. And so I went through the program, called him on Friday. He's like, you know, what's your takeaways, you know? Like, one, I've been doing a lot of shit wrong. But I'm just on the other side of it, you know, like, turn this thing 1 degree and I'm off in another direction. You know what I mean? I don't have to make huge leaps every day, you know, 2 hours of meditation, 4 hours. Like, I don't have to do that. You know what I mean? Just a little bit. And so we talked for almost an hour, and he kind of, you know, feedback what he had went through, you know, fallbacks, all that kind of stuff. And he goes, okay, well, your next step is to give back, to help others now that you've done your thing, you know? I was like, fuck, I didn't
think that far ahead. So
there's more work?
Getting homework now?
Yeah. So I was like, all right. And I reached out, Josh, one of our mutual buddies now, I reached out to him. Hey, and it's very typical, that type of program. You come off of like they call it a Friday high, right? You're ready to save the world. Everything is great. I have this little bit of information and I'm going to run with it. Right. Yep. And so I'm pretty sure I was one of, you know, 9 guys that reached out. There were 9 guys in my cohort. So I'm sure there was 9 guys who reached out and was like, dude, I'm ready. What do you need? I'll take the trash out. I'll, you know, whatever. And it was a few months later, him or Nate or someone who reached out, hey, if you're still interested in, you know, coming back to volunteer, then, you know, this is the cohort, you know, come on. And I just hit the ground running. Luckily, the department I'm with, they're pretty open to it, you know. The guys I work with were able to trade with me. You know, as soon as I kind of mentioned, you know, like, what are you doing, vacation? I'm like, oh, well, with this program and we're doing this. Oh yeah, cool. Say no more, man. That's cool. I appreciate it. And man, it's been wicked supportive the whole way.
That's awesome.
And I mean, that's probably my biggest takeaway is that I didn't see that coming. I didn't know about it. I didn't expect it, and so.
Well, it's nice that you have that culture.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think some guys won't talk to me about it. You know what I mean? It's not everyday conversation.
Yeah.
But it feels like it's a thing where, you know, guys will say, "Hey, man, I appreciate that. Hey, I heard about this. That's cool, man." You know.
Yeah.
So it's not all bro hugs and, you know.
Yeah. No, I know what you're getting at.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. So
no, but it's nice that you have that support and that culture there, even if it's not, you know, all high fives and shit.
Yep.
It's still, there's still that support there of, yeah, man, we appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah.
So, because I can tell you, not all departments are like that.
Yep.
Because there's still a lot of them out there that have that culture of, oh, you're doing, all right, you go stand over in that corner. We kind of.
They're not even willing to acknowledge that that's a problem or an issue.
Oh, well, it's not a problem. I mean, you know, firemen, we don't drink too much, take drugs, have girlfriends and cheat on our wives and, you know, shoot ourselves in the faces.
Yep. Yeah, and it's a lot of those issues come up at every department, you know. And I think those issues being so public and there and in your face is one of the things that's making those guys that want to drink it away, you know. As soon as that hangover's done, we're done thinking about it, you know.
Yeah.
That's turning, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Guys are getting injured. Guys are losing that identity as a firefighter, whether it's through injury or retirement.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're just stuck with themselves.
Yep.
You know, and whatever that is, and you know the old saying, I'm sure it's at every department, your replacement's hired.
Oh yeah.
You know,
we can get somebody right off the street and fill that spot. Everybody's replaceable.
I mean, right. I think I hold my stuff down on my shift with my crew and do the thing. A week later, they're laughing with some other dude.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of that tricky thing about, you know, you hear about the family aspect and the brotherhood and the bond and all that stuff, and it's there, and it is a real thing with the fire service.
Yep.
You know, just same as the military, police department, and all that stuff. But we're just cogs in a wheel ultimately, because it really is. The next person is going to step up.
And you have friends. You have you know your guys that you talk to outside of shift, and you know that kind of thing. So I'm not saying you're going to lose that, but you know if you think that you know you're the best driver on that rig, or you know pull the best line and whatever.
It's not going to work without me.
Yeah.
Guess what? It worked for 100+ years before you.
I just don't see how anything can happen if I'm not there. Yeah. I always joke around that when I'm not there, my shift doesn't laugh. And they're like, no, we're laughing. It's just at your expense. Yeah.
I like it. So what's we haven't even mentioned the program. What's the program?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So I went through the Battle Within.
Okay.
And I went through, April, May, something like that. Cohort number 4 of 2019. So, yeah, since then, like I said, I had a few months of pause.
Mm-hmm.
And then came back as a volunteer, came back as a mentor. And then now I'm the mentor coordinator.
Nice.
So guys who are going through, now I'm the guy that gives people the pause.
You're going to take a knee for a second.
Yeah.
And then when we're sure this is taken, then you're going to be back in.
Yeah. And the friendships built through that has been awesome. Yep. You know, talking to people on a more interactive human level, you know, whether it be veterans or fire service guys or cops. I mean, that's kind of the forbidden thing to do, you know. You talk to them, like more than making fun of them.
I don't know. We've had a bunch of cops on the podcast, and I mean, down to one, they've all been cool.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, and we interact with them on a daily basis. You know, we see them on calls, traffic wrecks, or whatever it may be. Dude, I would not want their job.
Dude, there's not a paycheck.
No, there's not a zero that you could add to the end of any number that would make me want to do that. And I've told them that.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm out.
Nope. And I mean, we've all been there. The whole flip side of you're talking to a patient. What's going on? What'd you take? What'd your buddy take? We're not the cops. We're not here. As soon as a cop walks in the door, hey, fuck you guys.
Yeah.
You're like, what kind of shit do they get when we're not right there?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Nope. And that's just personally. That's not online news.
Oh yeah.
All the other stuff. Yeah. So anyhow, yeah, the relationships built from that has been, all aspects that go through military. Like I said, basically it's anyone, from the moment you call 911, right? I mean, it's a blanket military, Coast Guard even included. Coast Guard, you're in.
They're not part of the DoD anymore.
No. Basically from the moment you call 911, so that dispatcher all the way to the person who lets you out of the, signs the paperwork, letting you out of the emergency room or hospital, whatever. That whole system is included in being able to go through the program. So
cool.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's needed. And I think that's one thing that a lot of people, and we've kind of talked about a little bit on the podcast about dispatchers and like the things that they go through and stuff.
That's another.
It's a whole different animal.
Yep.
And the stresses involved and
yep.
Yeah, people don't think about that.
I had to be, so with our military stuff with the Air Force, you are trained as telecommunicator, right? And the particular place that I worked, you work in dispatch for a 24-hour shift. No. No. And it was like just BS check, the runway checks, weather checks, nothing crazy, nothing at all like a city department would put dispatchers in.
Yeah.
Strong no.
Yeah.
Yeah, strong no.
Yeah. There's not for me either. I agree.
Yeah, I had to do it when I was active duty. We had to do it. That was our light duty. So if you got injured, you went to dispatch for however long you were injured. You did a regular 12-hour shift in dispatch. And the first time I was in dispatch, I was there for 2 months, I think. And it was off at Air Force Base. It was a base of like 15,000 people. So it's got base housing. It's got everything.
Yeah.
So we had to take 911 calls for kind of a very small city. Hell no.
Yeah.
That sucked.
Yeah. And I was at an Air National Guard base. We didn't have base housing. So it was like open during the day, pretty much shut down at night. I mean, you have your regular flight schedules, training, whatever. But yeah. Not like your job is the screen in front of you. Someone calls, do the thing, and then wait.
Yeah. And never know.
Yeah.
You're almost assuredly never going to find out what actually happened.
Right.
And I think I've heard a lot of dispatchers talk about that in, different scenarios.
Yeah, I never thought about that.
And it's like that's one of the things that kind of seems to be a general theme of what kind of eats at them is they don't know what the outcome is. Or they hear things on the radio, especially police dispatchers.
For
whenever,
sure.
You have shots fired or something like that, and they're like, you hear people die, and there's nothing you can do about it. So.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. Again, that's another paycheck that just.
Not enough zeros.
Nope. No way.
So what's your story?
You done?
I mean, I could talk. So
I know. That's what I'm asking.
We're going to circle back.
Yeah.
Circle
You're
back.
good. We'll get on you for a little bit.
Like Craig said, we grew up in the same town. Sorry.
You're good.
Grew up in the same town, and I wanted to be a firefighter since I was in first grade. We did a tour of a fire station. Growing up, that was the one thing that always stuck with me was being a fireman. Always wanted to. Fast forward, like graduating high school, supposed to go to college. Took a year off, turned down scholarships. It's coming to work, like a real job. So I worked at like Brinks Armored Car Company, like throwing bags of coin into a hopper for a year. I'm like, fuck this. I'm going to college. Went to college. I'm like, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. I really want to be a fireman. I don't need to be here for that.
No.
So kind of had the debate then of, do I want to make money or do I want to be a fireman? Didn't decide on either for a while. Waited until I was about 23, and I signed up to go to an academy and it was like a 1.5 year wait to get in. So I started looking at other options, and I was like, I could actually join the military and become a firefighter. Found out a way to get a guarantee contract with the Air Force to join, go to a fire academy, serve my country, and had to wait 8 months to get in instead of the 1.5 years. I was like, I get to travel and see the world. Went to the fire academy, got stationed 3 hours from home in Omaha, Nebraska.
Yeah, I think I had talked to you when I was home on leave from school or
–
from just leave in general. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you had either signed up or wanted to sign up. Yeah.
I think I had signed up when you and I talked.
Yeah.
I said, hey, I'm joining. And you're like, well, you haven't joined yet.
Yeah.
You're not really fucking joining.
Yeah, don't talk to me. Nerd.
Yeah. But yeah, I went to Offutt Air Force Base, and I was there for 3 years, deployed from there to Kyrgyzstan. We forward deployed to Afghanistan, came back home, and there was no, like, Nana teaching a painting class or an art class. It was like, welcome home. And I think I was home within, 48 hours from the time we left to the time we landed. And we landed and processed really quick, very short checklist, got 15 days off, came back to Kansas City, spent time with my brother, went out to a bar, and the first time I noticed anything was weird, I didn't notice it, my brother did. He's like, hey man, you okay? I was like, yeah, I'm fine, why? He's like, you're not you. Like, you're watching everyone in the bar right now. Like, you're not laughing, you're not smiling, you're just sitting there watching everything. I'm like, well, yeah, no one here's gonna shoot at me. No one's shooting mortars or fucking RPGs. Shit, I need to relax. That was as far as I went with that for a very long time. Deployed again later on after I went from Offutt Air Force Base to Lodges Field, small island in the Azores, which was awesome. I loved it there. I was there for 2 years, a little over 2 years. Deployed to UAE for a year, or for not a year, for one deployment for 6 months. Came back, still same processing checklist. Anytime I had shit going on, my go-to was drinking. I was like, well, this doesn't feel good. I'm going to numb this.
Classic varsity move.
Yeah. It was effective in the moment. That's about it.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that solidified me wanting to be a fireman when I was a kid was my dad passed away when I was 9. And I've kind of figured out that part of my motivation for it was maybe I can stop that from happening to some other 9-year-old kid. So and it was like it was a 4-wheeler accident, died suddenly, and it was just this place there was no one who could fucking save him anyway. There was nothing that anyone could have done. But in my mind, I can do something because I'm that special cog in that wheel and that entire machine that I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm just another fucking cog in the machine, which is fine.
We can save everyone.
Yeah.
Every patient.
Until we can't.
Yeah.
And it's okay not to.
Really?
No, I'm saying when it happens,
mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, that's fine. You know, there's this. We did the best we could. It's not going to affect me. Fuck, it doesn't.
Dude, that's such a common, if I just had a nickel for every time. Because that's what, a lot of us think that. I thought that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like the first dead person that I remember running was like my second day on OJT.
Day one. My first call was a SIDS call.
Mine was an old lady that looked very much like my grandmother, who had just passed away. And she was in a nursing home on suicide watch, so they took everything out of the room, except the bathtub, which she climbed in and drowned herself in. So, hey, sub, get in there and pull her out and do CPR for 30 minutes, and you're not going to get her back.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it didn't bother me, not one bit.
Nope, not at all.
Nope.
I got back from my first call, which was a SIDS call at like 3 o'clock in the morning. And this is day one, my first medical call I've ever run. Like,
oh, that's
first
rough.
day on the job, like out of like all my training stuff. first company I'm with, my captain at the time, this is like 2004, so he was actually kind of progressive, because I'm sitting at the kitchen table after we get back from the call. Everyone else goes to bed. I'm sitting there. I'm like, what the fuck did I get into? I can't do this job. Like, this is messing with me now.
And everyone else probably just went to bed.
Yeah, they just went to bed.
Mm-hmm.
Like 45 minutes later, my captain gets up to go pee in the middle of the night. Walks by. He's like, oh, yeah. It's bothering you, that call? I'm like,
yeah, dead
I'm
kid.
like, fuck, what? How am I supposed to? If I'm just gonna fucking answer it honestly. Yeah, it's fucking with me, Cap. That's good that it is. You'll get over it.
Wow. Sage words of wisdom.
Yeah. I think the first, growing up in Independence, you see stuff. Car wrecks in particular, growing up, I was just privy to see it, and so I was lucky that the parents that I grew up with, very open, honest, didn't sugarcoat anything. So if I had a question, it was, blatantly answered, which was sometimes like, oh, shit, but you got your answer,
Yeah.
And so seeing a couple car wrecks and, near the house, on the weekends out with friends, seeing that kind of stuff, asking questions, going through those emotions of seeing that. Like, I didn't understand it, but I knew that talking about it, like with my parents, with, my friends that were there, whatever, helped. I didn't know why, what the rhyme or reason was, later on, growing, getting away from those friends. Then it was turned, if you talk, why are you talking about that? We don't talk about that, Well, that bad thing that happened, that was last weekend. Cool. It's last weekend.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And then with the fire service, my first call was a Nana, peacefully in her sleep. Right. And, the department I was with, ran it ambulance assist. So ambulance is a different crew coming in. That medic decided, no, there's not enough things and they don't have the DNR, so we're working it.
Okay.
Huh? What? Yeah. Choice as a new guy. Billy will tell you, I probably put my foot in my mouth more. Yeah.
He's not hesitant to open his mouth.
Yeah. And you know what I'm feeling, I'm
Yeah.
not the guy that's like, I wonder what he thinks about that. Like, usually it's like, I probably didn't have to talk about that right now. But yeah, so new guy, smaller department, kind of had it out with the medic. Really just a what the fuck? Like I'm an EMT, you're a medic. How could you not see this, and this? Like, and you guys weren't here very quick. Family members got here before you.
Yeah, that's...
So then I make a call. I'm like, I have a Nana. Does she have a DNR? Because, I know my little cousins and everyone are there.
Yeah.
They don't need to see this shit. So my first reaction was to, fuck that guy. First off, we're going to talk to that guy. And then call, make sure Nana has the DNR, because again, like family member, you don't see that stuff every day.
Yeah.
No,
and that's traumatic for the family.
Right.
Especially, like going in their sleep and all that stuff. Everything can be kind of peaceful.
Yep,
and
exactly.
That's like a happy ending almost.
Yeah.
Like ideal ending, not happy.
If you're 34 and it happens, shit.
Yeah.
Like,
that's different.
That's
Yeah.
fucked. But if you're 87
Yeah.
and it happens,
And then you've got 4 firemen, 2 guys off the ambulance, whatever, and you're dragging Nana off the bed onto the floor,
Off the bed
and
on the
beating
floor.
on her chest,
Yeah.
yep.
and then jabbing her with needles and pumping all
Oh,
kinds
yeah,
of
the
crap
little
into her.
drill through the shin.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's cool unless they have a titanium rod in their leg, and then that makes a really bad sound.
Yeah.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that yet.
Yeah, that was so. That said, and then of course, the person that I was working with that day had a good pull aside, like, hey, sometimes we hate the ambulance crew. We just don't let them know it.
Well, so what I will say to that, and let me preface it by saying I agree. I think that was crap. But so not everybody has the same procedures, SOPs,
right.
and all of that stuff. And especially if you're running with different municipalities or different, like if it's a private ambulance company or something like that, there are certain things that maybe they have to do that we don't fall under, but they do. Or,
right.
Certain things that you have to do that they don't have to do, or criteria that has to be met. And it's always good to take a step back before, and I say that now.
Right.
Like 5 years ago, I probably wouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
I probably would have jumped down somebody's throat.
Yeah. So I kind of went back and asked, not necessarily about this call, but what is, because I feel like we checked a lot of boxes on not doing the whole thing, and pretty much across the board, if this, and this is set, then there's no, with age, everything else, like there's no reason.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I've definitely gotten to situations where I didn't think things were right. And once I got more information, I was wrong. Okay. And then you got to go on the apology tour, but
man, that's a really, really crappy tour to be on.
Yeah. That humble pie is not good tasting.
No.
So, but yeah. And one, the crew I was with learned a lot about me that day. But then also like, I was probably quick to get pissed off, but I was also quick to talk about it, Like, this is why I'm pissed off. This is what I saw, right? Not like, F that guy. He's doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
This is what I saw, and I felt like that was unnecessary. Now we have 5 people from the family who are like, this place is shit, Yeah. Whatever services are offered, Yeah. So.
Back to your story.
Back to my story.
You weren't done. Sorry.
No,
I think
really.
he was barely started.
Yeah. Shit. Where was I? Oh, so still in the military, or still in the Air Force. Did my second deployment in a place that should have been pretty cake. And shit went down. Shit went wrong. And one of my buddies ended up getting shot by security forces because someone wasn't trained properly. And we thought we were taking sniper fire in the middle of a fucking base that we had no hostiles around us. Because no one said anything over the radio. We were hunkered down. He stopped the truck after getting shot, climbed out, fell onto the ground. We pulled him behind some barriers. 5 minutes, nothing on the radio. They're trying to figure out what the fuck's going on. And finally the 2 guys that were in the tower overlooking the spot we were at were like, hey, it was us. Sorry. Yeah.
I don't have words for that.
Yeah, and the best part was it was how it was set up. There's a tower looking over the intercontrol point, and in that tower they have an M60 set up like directly in line with someone trying to drive through without authorization too. Mm-hmm. One guy had to take a shit, so they sent up another guy who wasn't trained to relieve him. As the one guy's about to walk out to take a shit, fire truck comes driving through. As the fire truck's driving through, the guy who wasn't trained leaned down and said, oh, hey, look, it's a fireman. Boom, boom, boom. Popped off 3 rounds. He may have shit himself then, too, because he didn't think it was going to go off. But hit the truck perfectly in the middle because it's set up exactly the right spot.
Yeah.
One of the rounds splintered, hit my buddy actually in the eye and got lodged back. He ended up losing his eye. We show up in a country that not a whole lot of people know we're there in uniform with a GSW because we were on a base that wasn't set up for anything. They had a clinic. No trauma room, no surgeon, no nothing. So we had to take him off base, covered in blood, showed up. The guy who ended up shooting him, or guy who shot him, got the same punishment as another guy I know who had a no contact order and violated it because this person said, "I'm going to kill myself." So he called 911 and he was closer than anyone, so he went over to check on her. Same punishment.
Not acceptable.
Nope.
But that's the military.
Yep. Pretty
I
much.
mean, and kind of the fire department in
it
some
falls
aspects.
Under,
Yeah.
It's perfect summary of all of it.
Yeah.
That one messed with me a bit. I didn't realize it for a while, but I was pissed. I was pissed at a lot of things. That was the deployment. I'm like, all right. I was wondering if I was going to get out because I signed up for a 6-year enlistment. I was like, yeah, I'll get out at 30. That's a good round number to get the fuck out and get on a civilian department. It'll be better there.
You missed your calling as a comedian, I think.
Yeah.
Now, in my opinion, whatever that is worth, the civilian side tenfold is better in the reality of the fire service.
I don't disagree at all. It's also a smaller bureaucracy, which makes it easier in that regard.
For sure.
The military, it's so many people trying to make rank that have nothing to do with you that are fucking up your entire world.
Yeah.
I've
heard that.
A lot of decisions by people who haven't, if they have ran a certain amount of calls, it's been a while, and everything is hunkered. Their whole self-esteem, their whole mentality, everything is those calls, and they want to, be, the salty guy for a nothing call 10 years ago, and now they're in charge, and it's it sucks because it has every opportunity to be amazing.
Absolutely.
The facilities, the funding, the training, all of that has legit sky's the limit. But in there is a system of promotions and hierarchy that doesn't feed at all off of the job. So one thing, and this is, again, just the reality of the military versus civilian life, a military base is so much safer and hunkered down than a civilian city. I mean, that's just...
Well, yeah. It ought to be.
Right. So your fire department on that installation doesn't get into the shit like the civilian department outside.
Everything's sprinklered. There's no hoarders.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you get room contents for the most part.
Yeah. And I mean, and then your typical, a lot of your medical stuff, a lot of your, your ODs and all that stuff, it's just not happening on. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it's not at the volume.
Yeah.
You're not picking up bariatric patients all the time.
Yeah. All that kind of stuff. So, in that void is bullshit.
Yeah.
I
mean, you got to admit, though, we run a large quantity of bullshit in the civilian sector.
Yeah,
absolutely.
A lot of calls that.
And that dude, 6:30-ish to 8 o'clock at night, give it. Right?
You mean you don't want to run 10 calls after midnight of
turnaround?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, my big toe hurts for the 8th time.
Yeah.
How long's it been hurting? 6 weeks.
Or maybe a testicular infection.
Who knows?
Yesterday.
Yeah.
See, now that's interesting, though.
I don't want to see it.
No, I don't want to see it either.
No.
But at least it's, I ran a guy not too long ago who couldn't pee at 3 o'clock in the morning.
It just
could not pee.
It just came up.
No. It had been going on for quite some time.
Yeah.
3 a.m. was
But
breaking point. He's like,
3
fuck
a.m.
this,
was
I'm done.
was the line. And I need to go to the hospital right now.
Now,
Okay.
Here's the alternative. You go to a station that doesn't run any calls.
That's not a great alternative.
No, not at all.
Nope.
Yeah. There's a happy medium there.
I don't know where that medium is.
No, me neither.
It's a thin line that none of us have found,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And as soon as you go to that station or that whatever, you might as well retired,
Pretty much, yeah.
right?
And the call volume still is increasing everywhere, so
Guys,
it's not going to stay.
It's so much more ridiculous now than whenever I came on.
right?
I mean, in the time that I've been on, I'll have 18 years next month. The call volume has at least tripled in the Northland.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a conservative estimate. I don't know what it'll actually be this year. But 2 years ago, whenever they did all the run numbers, the last ones that I saw, we had tripled in that time. We're the company that I was working on 2 years ago was the busiest pumper company in the area. They were running as much as the busy downtown companies were 18 years ago.
Holy shit.
Whenever everybody was going, oh my God, we're running so much.
We got to do something about this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And 18 years later, your outlying companies are running that much now.
Yeah.
So what happened?
I think it's, well, I mean, there's a bunch of different studies and surveys and there's an industry built to figure that out, right? Just being on the receiving end of the 911 calls, right? I think it's the acceptance that this is normal for the caller.
Yeah.
Right.
A buddy of mine had his theory is basically that we're not, and this goes back to like a parenting thing, we're not teaching people to be self-sufficient.
Right.
Of to being able to handle things on their own, problem solving.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Of, okay, I know how to change a smoke detector, or, I have a headache, I'll take some aspirin, or,
right.
My stomach hurts, or whatever that call may be.
I have a primary care physician.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I can go to the doctor tomorrow, or I could make an appointment today and go.
Yeah.
Instead, it's now we're going to call 911.
They'll figure it out.
They'll figure it out.
Right. But then you get in your rural, how do you say that word?
Rural.
Yeah.
Sorry, biff that one. You get those, and you might have a tenth the calls, but Farmer Bill calls you. Farmer Bill fucking needs you.
Absolutely.
Yep.
He sliced his thigh with a chainsaw and tried duct taping it.
Yeah.
Well,
that worked for a couple days.
Right. Right.
Ran out of duct tape.
Yeah.
You boys could just bring some from the hardware store. I'll be fine.
Yeah. And you probably have to know how to operate that equipment to get him out.
Yeah.
So, but the normal BS stuff, you're not running it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, now, again, like we spoke about earlier, we talk about these BS calls, and we talk about, not, hey, before 8 o'clock, cool, know, but then on the same thing, but hey, let's push out to one of the outlying stations. What do you say?
Oh,
No. Give up my spot?
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
And the common theme, and I don't want to speak for you guys, but it's like you run all those calls, right? All the BS calls back to back to back to whatever. And then you're up all night.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're sleep deprived, and you're frustrated that you've got all this training and all this knowledge, and you want to help people because you can save everybody.
Yeah.
But you're not. You're running
Joe
Blow because his toe hurts.
You're on Joe Blow's call, and then something pops off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it could be you hear it over the radio, it's a cardiac arrest. In reality, it's somebody that doesn't want to go to jail, So, but you don't know that.
Yeah.
Or it could be a legit cardiac arrest, but you're stuck on that call. And the frustration and everything, and it boils over. Your circadian rhythm's all fucked up because you haven't been sleeping.
What's a circadian rhythm?
Yeah, firemen don't have those.
Right.
But yeah, so, I mean, but
there is one more aspect to, I think, the increase in call volume is our culture of I don't want to be sued. So you do call your doctor. You give them one little symptom. They're like, call 911 and go to the hospital.
Difficulty breathing.
Absolutely.
Like, it's not really difficult for me to breathe. It's just a little bit. Well, call 911.
Yeah.
Well, it's on every. Have you
Everything.
called the doctor to
Yeah.
make an appointment?
Yeah.
If this is an emergency, call 911.
The
Well, it has
chiropractor.
been
The
emergency to me.
chiropractor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I call my chiropractor is a great dude, but on his recording,
Yeah.
if this is emergency, how
If
how
this is
bad's it got to
emergency-
be that I'm trying to chiropractor?
If it's an emergency,
And then
I'm
go-
dialing the wrong fucking number to begin
yeah.
with.
Yeah, sorry, Eric, didn't mean to call you. You're right next to 911. Right? Yeah. So I dislocated my back like this. Can you get me in?
Yeah. Sometime next week's fine.
Yeah.
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 Anyway.
So, but yeah, we were just talking about we might just be in like a lull right now, but we haven't. We were talking about this morning our jailitis is going down.
Huh.
I don't know why. We talked about it this morning.
It's interesting. I come to think of it, I don't think I've run well, and I'm also in a different part of the city now than I was at the beginning of the year. I ran that a little bit more in that other area, but
Yeah.
I haven't run that call in a little while.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't have a rhyme or reason for that one, but someone mentioned it this morning, and we were all like,
Oh,
yeah.
buckle up, next shift.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Talked about it. Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. The thing where you don't talk about that certain person that you always run.
Yeah.
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 That's a thing for real.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Anyway, back to our regularly scheduled program.
Yeah. Where are we at? What year are we on now?
Fuck if I know.
Deployment came
deployment
back. Guy
came
didn't get in
back.
trouble.
So you're still in the military, not quite out yet.
Almost out. I've got less than a year left at this point. Finished out my time on a fucking beautiful subtropical island where they usually party till like 4 a.m. It's a perfect environment for me.
Awesome.
Coming back from a deployment.
Yeah.
Your time to shine.
My
Yeah.
time to shine. Had challengers of, I think I can outdrink you. Okay, let's see. But yeah, so finished my time in the Air Force, got out, got on a civilian department within like 3 months. And then 9 months later, I got on the department I'm on now, which is where I wanted to start to begin with. Like, that's where I took that tour of a fire station in kindergarten, was at that department. So, like, it sounds cheesy, but, like, when they asked me in my interview, like, why do you want to work here? It's like, well, I've had the opportunity to serve my country. I want the opportunity to serve the community that raised me and I was raised in. So, for me, this is where I really want to fucking work. This is where I wanted to work. Every time I thought about being a fireman, throughout my entire life, it was here. I got that job. I've been there for 11 years now. A little over 11 years.
Yeah.
Haven't had any bad calls that have messed with me at all the entire time I was there.
I
Great.
100% believe it. That's why you're on this podcast.
It's funny though. 'Cause
That's what we like to hear is like, people who have not been affected at
Not
all.
at all.
squeaky clean, slid
Yeah.
through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was a fucking like black cloud of like shitty calls for my first few years. Like if it was something fucking weird or crazy, I was there. And it was one of those things, like even like with fires, my first 6 months, they're like, we had a floating thing for our new guys.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, are you setting fires? I'm like, I don't know where I'm going in the mornings, so no, I'm not. I was getting a bunch of like first in fires. It was fucking great. I loved it. All the crazy shit was happening. I'm like, yeah, this is what I'm here for.
Yep.
Years later, I'm like, all right, maybe it's done some shit. But yeah, so a few years go by, having common problems in relationships, period. But I think it was a couple years ago. I was married, had kind of a shitstorm going on in my entire life. And this is the time that Craig first mentioned, hey, here's something that worked for me. I had already started therapy before that. So I had been seeing a therapist. I had a therapist that had recommended, like, hey, with the stuff we're talking about, here's some books. I don't do anything halfway typically, so she gave me books. I fucking dove in. I'm like,
Brene Brown.
Brene Brown.
Yeah,
Started with Brene Brown. Pretty much read everything she has out, all of her podcasts too. I'm almost done with Atlas of the Heart right now, which is a fucking great book. But reading through her books and doing the therapy, I'm like, all right, I've got a lot of fucking information. I know I'm doing things wrong. And I'm at a point to where I don't know, like, I'm at a juxtaposition to where there's like 10 fucking roads in front of me. I've got a lot of information in my head. I don't know what the fuck to do with any of it. Like, I have all this information, but I'm still getting fucking pissed off.
Yeah, you could gather it and gather it and gather it. And then,
but I can't apply it. It's not applicable knowledge.
Yeah. What's your jam?
Yeah. It's like reading a book on how to tie knots, but not having a fucking rope.
Great analogy.
So he brings it up. My ex-wife now told me she was going to file for divorce. Got into a really bad place of deep depression, some suicidal thoughts. And sat in my basement one night, some pretty shitty thoughts. Fucking just sat down there and cried for probably about 2 hours. Called him the next day and said, hey, remember that thing you were telling me about? I'm ready to go. I need to go, like, soon. He was like, let me make a phone call. And
it was a week or two?
2 weeks.
Yeah, we had another cohort coming up.
Yeah, perfect timing. So. Went through... whole lot more information, but it taught me how to apply things. Walked out of there Friday like, this is fucking awesome. No shit, now I have to go back to the real world.
Oh, yeah, that part of it.
Yeah, and I'm still the same asshole that I was to everyone else when I went in. Like my family, like, because I've had anger issues since I was a kid. Like when my dad died, whole different story. Bottled shit up. Everything came out as anger. That was the one emotion I was comfortable with, and we were told at that time, you can be angry, you can be happy, you can be neutral. You really can't be anything else. You can't be sad because you're being a pussy.
True.
At least I got a lot of that from my dad. Not my stepdad, who was fucking phenomenal. But so that was the one thing I was comfortable with. And that's the one thing I'd been working on my entire life when I realized I was angry. So I'd kind of been working on me for a long time, but it was like, I got this shit. I'll do it myself. Until my late 30s, whenever I got this shit, I'll do it myself, was not fucking working. Repeatedly. I had it under control for a little while, but I was alone. I was in the military. I had it under control because I was just fucking drinking. And if anyone got close and things got weird, and like I could just push them away.
Yeah,
no
so
big deal.
Totally under control there.
Oh yeah, it's under control.
Yeah.
As long as I'm alone in a very isolated bubble and there's no one that fucking comes near me. Totally under control. No problems at all.
Oh.
Introduce someone else and I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah. I concur.
Yeah. Repeated theme. May have caused some relationship issues. I don't know. Maybe.
Who could really say at this point?
Yeah. Probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah, so went through the battle within, dove into it, and had to go back to the real world. And even with having to go back to the real world and having that information that I got with the battle within, it taught me a way to apply the knowledge that I had, apply the knowledge that I learned there, and I started doing better. And then I started not doing better because I wasn't practicing all the shit they taught me.
Did a little backsliding,
yeah,
did you?
It's like when you work out and like you're like, yeah, I maxed out at this. And you don't work out for a while, and you don't work out for a while, like, man, I'm fucking getting weak. Same shit with your brain.
Yeah.
You're doing the exact same
And then you
stuff.
try to go back to that same weight or that same circuit, and you're like, where the fuck was I?
Why can't I handle this?
Yeah,
This is
I
weird.
suck.
Yeah.
You mean you got to continue with your mental health?
Yeah.
Just like,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, the backslide, especially for me when I first came through, and talked with I'll just say his name, Ryan Parrott is who I was fortunate enough to talk with and have a as a mentor to begin with. And he runs an awesome foundation for burn victims and things. But talking with him, you know, I'd never thought about now I got to give back, right? And he didn't say that's going to be part of your learning and healing and growth. He said, now you got to get back, right?
Yeah.
You know, people always will, you know, especially at the end of a cohort, thank you so much. Thank you. But in reality, it's kind of a selfish thing. I mean, I take time off work, I take time off my family, and they sacrifice, right? And it's about 100 hours as a mentor. You get there on Monday, you leave on Friday. It's almost directly across 100 hours. So you do 100 hours of volunteer time, right? But in that volunteer time, you're hearing things that Billy went through, right? Things that other guys go through from, you know, the Army, the, you know, corrections facility, that kind of thing. And while their whole story might not make sense, they might have that one thing that they say, and my brother, you know, this, that, and you're like, oh. And then you hear what the clinician says back, and that's for you. Mm-hmm. As much as it is for that person,
yeah.
Right? You're like, oh, fuck, yeah, okay, you know. And that's almost every day. You know, Monday, you know, people showing up, you know, meeting everyone, you see their faces, and you're like, especially if you know the person, like knowing Billy, and there's been a few other people that come through that I didn't know they were going, you know, and I'm like, man, that's awesome. I'm glad you're here. And then I'm like, I'm fucking sad you're here because you're in a point of who knows, you know, but that slide back, you know, when you do make those, you know, that 1 degree transition over weeks, the slide back, because like I can be hard on myself, but if I was just dumb to the information, like, fuck, okay, we learned here. But if I know the information and I still, man, now I'm a double asshole, right?
I mean,
yes.
In my head, because I'm taking my family's time for granted. I'm taking those conversations I had for granted. I'm taking all this trust that I'm doing the work and the time that I'm doing the, you know, whether that's, you know, sliding in a meditation, a quick workout session, you know, whatever it is, that I'm not helping with the dishes or running the trash down or, you know, like, I mean, even being here on this podcast, life is still, you know, my kids are at jiu-jitsu. I had to ask, you know, a ride there, right? That kind of thing, you know? So now if I go and I slide back, even though my family will give me grace, you know, in my head, I double fucked myself. You know what I mean?
And I get that mentality 100%.
Right.
Say, be careful. Because, I mean, and I get it, like the big stuff with the, you know, backsliding, if it's, you know, drinking or whatever, drugs or whatever. Definitely, that's horrible.
Yeah.
The small stuff, also, you got to watch out for, but you have to give yourself grace as well.
And
because
learning that, right? And then having, you know, learning conversations, right? I've always been a talker, and Billy could tell you that. Like, I stay after shift. You know, I'm always there 7:15, 7:30 talking with anyone. You know? And so, but learning how to conversate, you know, listen to little things that people are saying, and you know, if they're kind of like reaching for something, they drop a little, you know, hint, or hey, let's talk about this, you know. Oh, hey, there that is. Let's, you know, slide into that conversation, you know.
Yeah.
But learning how to have that conversation where I'm not looking for a rebuttal, I'm listening and I'm engaged, and that person. I mean, me and Billy talk like, so I know he's probably I've gotten into it where I'm like, dude, if you could just shut the fuck up, so I can say this one thing that's going to help you, right? Right? But learning like, hey, they're talking because they need to talk, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Getting it out, spilling it, right? They're saying all this stuff to get to that one thing that they haven't said or don't want to say, or they're just trying
really hard to say.
They're just trying to slide in.
Yeah.
And then, you know, and they're like, oh, he didn't overreact. He didn't react. He didn't, you know what I mean? So that's been the biggest thing. growth-wise for me in that 1 degree, especially family members, my wife. There was a pretty funny. She probably a month or two after going through the battle within. I still Friday high. I have all the answers right in my head. Right, this is my jam. This is and then you kind of lull back and you get into it and you figure out what the grind is. Right, like I'm not always gonna want to do this, but if I do, X, Y, Z. But it was a couple months that went by, and I don't even remember the particular situation, but there could have been a heated argument, and I think my wife had put the catcher's gear on, right, and was like 2 bats.
Yeah, she was ready.
Let's do and I was just like, all right, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I can see how you interpreted that. And she goes, don't you fucking use that battle within shit on me right now. I'm ready for war. Look at this,
Yep.
And
you know what? That's the crazy thing, though, and I found myself kind of doing that a little bit, too, because I went through the Valor program.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then whenever I came out, the one thing that really kind of stuck with me out of that was being able to look at things from multiple angles and not just my own perspective.
Yeah.
And it was so helpful, and especially helpful with, trying to navigate conversations and things that could be an argument that,
right.
you're able to kind of,
instead of hanging on that one thing someone said, and you're like, wait, I got to bring that back and say, fuck you about this.
yeah.
Like, actually listen to the rest of what they're saying and maybe actually get the context of it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So where were we?
Let's see. You were on the department.
Yeah, I've been on the department a few years.
Yeah.
I went through the battle within.
Yep.
And since the person who introduced me to it kind of did the same technique, but didn't say, hey, now your next task is to give back. It was, hey, I'm going to let you know what I did. So this is what Craig told me. He's like, I'm going to let you know what I did when I got out. I made the mistake of, hey, this shit's great. I know everything now. You guys should listen to what I'm saying. It's like, just be the example. He's like,
yeah, in the fold.
Yeah, in the fold. Yeah. Just everything you've learned, practice it. People will see it eventually. If they don't, then they won't. Maybe they need to go through too.
Yeah.
And then after, I don't know when it was, but I think after a while he's like, okay, Billy's doing this shit. Dude, come back. Now it's your turn to give back. You got to come mentor. So I've done that now. Fucking love it. It's taxing.
Yep.
But absolutely love it. I love the opportunity to be able to give back and help guys get through that. Even if it's just facilitate the environment for that to happen.
Yep. It's the space.
Yeah.
Right. That probably mentoring is probably where I learned 99% of my conversational skills as far as listening.
Mm-hmm.
Right. In a conversation, it'd be a terrible podcast if we didn't talk, but in a conversation, you don't have to. Like, you'd be surprised how you can guide a conversation by going, okay, yeah, and then what? Right? Mm-hmm. You don't have to give a rebuttal or the answer, or you know what I mean. But usually, eventually, someone will go, well, what'd you do, or what do you think of this? Sometimes it doesn't happen. Sometimes you're just a echo chamber, right? They haven't had someone just listen. Usually, one sentence in, oh, dude, come on, man, you know better than that. You're better than that. Stop being an asshole. And they go, oh, this person, this is their max. Yep. This is where they're at.
Or no first responders ever do this at all. But you have a problem? Oh, I got the fucking solution. I can fix it.
Yeah.
This is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Instead of just fucking listening.
Yep.
We're
fixers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but that's not exclusive to us.
No.
I mean, think of just conversations that you've had with your family, your friends who are on the department.
I get in trouble. I got in trouble yesterday for it.
Yeah.
My wife, I'm like, but if we do, and she goes, I don't need you to fix it. And I'm like, so why are we talking? She's like, I just, and now she'll lead with it. Especially about her job is so complex, and I don't have the brain power to understand most of it. But she'll just lead with it. I don't need you to fix any of this. I just need you to listen. And I'm like, oh, she thinks I'm not going to get it. You know? But in
Guess
reality,
what? I got Google on my phone.
yeah. So, but in reality, like she'll just run through that whole thing, and then she's like, "All right, better." I'm like, what?
Sometimes that's all
Yeah.
people need.
Yeah.
You know, and is to be somebody to be that ear for them to talk stuff out.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's one part of, you know, we sit here and we talk about mental health with first responders and all that stuff. And, you know, you kind of alluded to it of, you know, all you had to do is make that 1 degree shift.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes all it is somebody needs to get something off their chest to keep them from even having to make that 1 degree shift. You know, and that's kind of the whole reason we started the podcast is because if one of you guys say something or I say something or whoever it is says something that maybe sparks in somebody's brain.
Yeah.
Hey, I kind of see that. Man, that kind of applies to me. Okay. We catch you before you start going down that road.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Ideally,
a win.
That's a huge win. That's a huge win
Yeah.
in my mind.
Absolutely. So,
Yeah.
and the more that we have that's going on like this, you know, programs people are getting into, the more podcasts, I don't care.
Yeah.
Whatever we can do to start to correct the problem.
Right.
Because we can all agree there's a problem.
Huge.
There's a problem. We've
Huge.
made headway. There's a long fucking way to go.
Yeah.
And in my 18 years in the fire service, I honestly can't believe how much it's changed in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
How much progress we've made with so many things, but to include mental health. But we have a very, very long way to go.
Yeah.
Like we just started the journey down that road.
We're still 20 years behind.
Easily.
Yeah. I mean, there are departments out there that are sticking their neck out, though.
Absolutely,
Huge.
there are.
And I'll if I can, I'll drop one of them. I believe it was Olathe peer support that stepped in with us last year, and holy wow, dude, they came in and guys that senior guys that I thought in these activities and these talks that they had us do, talked like not a lot, not like, you know, but dude, it was for the younger guys in that room.
That's my favorite move.
Yeah, the younger guys in that room to see that senior guy talk. Hey, this is, you know, I remember this, you know, whatever it was. Like that takes the blindfold from this, you know.
Well, see, and that's what changes the culture.
Yep.
Because, and you'll see it. You have that senior guy, and you've got the young guys. I use guys. It's a blanket statement. Don't cancel me. So, but you'll see that younger person. They're watching.
Yep.
The old salty veteran. So, however that person goes,
Yep.
it just bleeds down, and that's how that culture gets reinforced. But if you've got that old guy that goes, yeah, this is what I was feeling, or, you know, that makes sense, or whatever, that doesn't do the old lean back with their chair, arms crossed, not paying attention.
You're wasting my time.
What the fuck am I doing here?
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
You get them to engage. Okay, then the
the
younger person goes, this is okay. I can talk about this.
And it wasn't earth shattering. You know what I mean? Like they're not make revelations, but it was just talk.
Yeah.
You know, and Olathe did awesome on just setting that space. Simple questions. Now let's go around the room, you know, and then even afterwards, guys come up and we're talking to the guys that were there, you know, about the situation, about, you know, whatever. But they laid it out. They laid it out awesome. It was I had the opportunity at one of our events to run into one of the peer support guys and thank him, and he's like, man, we hardly ever, you know, we get guys that talk to us that day, and, you know, they're kind of like, man, we appreciate it, you know, thanks for coming to. But he thought, like, did we biff it? Did we, you know? I was like, no, man. Like, it was like we had guys that, you know, in everyday activity are part of the crew, and, you know, the senior guy, and, you know, doing the job. But when it comes to that stuff, it was eye opening, and it was awesome to see, you know, guys lay that out with new guys watching, with guys who had been on the department for a little bit and probably hadn't seen that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and that's what it's going to take.
I think that the weird thing is like there was a turning point. I don't know if it's generationally or our age, but around our age, like the guys, the old crusty guys, like when we first started, like their attitude, it was one of those things like, that's not going to work for me. Like that was the start of the change, I think.
Yeah.
And
I would agree with that.
It's because it was like, okay, that's not going to work for me. That's fucking stupid. Or I don't know why they do it that way. I don't know why it's that way, but I don't think that's going to work. I don't know what the answer is. That's not for me.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of how we started it. And seeing the guys that are a little bit older, a little bit crustier, like seeing them do that, like inside I'm like just smiling, fucking like grinning ear to ear.
Yep.
Stupid. I'm like, yes, that's fucking awesome. Not doing it outwardly because the entire rest of the department would be like, fuck's wrong with that?
That's Billy over there really enjoying this conversation.
Yeah. You're too excited. I'm going to need you to tone it down.
Yep.
Yeah. So I just a coincidental thing that happened with myself a little bit after going through the program was the pandemic hit.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So we handled that marvelously. But I hadn't had a drinking problem up to that point. I had always drank. I had always been good at it, right?
A
I
professional.
Talented.
Well, I always said, like, I'm not an alcoholic because I don't drink alone. Like, if I'm at the house, wife and kids, like, you know, having one, like, I didn't have one beer. Like, I would, if I'm by myself and it's like, I'm perfectly okay. Neighbor comes over, helps me mow the lawn, whatever, crack a beer.
I always use the line, I'm not alcoholic because I don't go to meetings.
Right? Yeah. Oh, shit, what is this? So the pandemic hit, but it was always, so socially, I was a drinker, right? And then that turned into, hey, you guys up? You guys ready? Okay, I'll buy a round. And then you come back, oh, I'll buy a round. And then my wife's giving me the look like, hey, dickhead, we came here for dinner. You know? And
you're buying rounds for people you don't know.
Right.
I made new friends.
Yeah, but I got to have someone here. And then I'm like, so when's the last time you guys seen a dead body? No. But socially, so I was like, oh, I'm good, right? Now, there's a few things that I will wholeheartedly, in the most humble aspect, admit that I suck at. Cardio, most things involving weights, and hangovers. Any of my friends will tell you, the dude sucks. Like, I'm down, I'm out. I've never called 911.
Yeah. You know what my cure for hangovers was, right?
More.
Well, yeah, you just don't stop drinking.
Right,
That's
so
the way you fix that problem.
When the pandemic hit, I have a beer fridge. I used to brew beer with my family members and things, and have a beer fridge, all kinds of beer. And pandemic hits, and I'm, the neighbor's not coming over because we got to stay apart, you know.
And that beer's going to go bad.
Well, here's the funny thing. I inadvertently quit drinking for like 3 months. Right? And it was my wife had said something. We were getting ready to go somewhere, and she goes, I think we kind of just said, fuck it, we're going to hang out with someone, And she's like, you want to go down and grab some beers? I was like, yeah, I'll go down and grab some, a cooler or whatever. And the fridge was full. What? And so I go back upstairs. I'm like, when's the last time we drank? And she's she hardly, she might have like one of those little mixer can things or whatever, but she wasn't nearly where I was at. And she thought about it. She's like, well, it's probably so-and-so. I'm like, that's 3 months ago. And I was like, I'm okay with that. Like, we don't need to take a cooler, And then it hit me. People expect you're going to drink, right? So what do you do then, right? Which was always kind of like my my fallback of why, yeah, but like I drink with so and so, and we do the thing, and then we go drink, and like if I don't, am I going to be invited anymore? Right?
Is that my value?
Come to find out, you are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, but to get around it, I was kind of sneaky. So I would, and this kind of fell into, kind of funny, but that liquid death water. Liquid Death, the big cans of water. You ever seen them?
They look
like a Coors Light.
Okay.
Or a Miller Lite. Yeah, Miller Lite. This is a white can. Yeah, they look like a Miller Lite. So if you got a koozie on it, like you can slam water all day, and people are like, "Dude, how are you standing right now?" Right? Yeah. So literally.
So your solution to not telling people that you didn't drink anymore was.
Well, drink water.
Drink water.
Yeah.
And then when people would find out, they would be like, "Oh, dude, you're like, if you don't want to drink, don't drink." Like, it was that easy, right?
Yeah, it's that easy.
But literally, like I'd be out of little cans of kombucha, waters, whatever, and if you're like, "Dude, you're 2 beers, 1 water, dude," I'm like, "No, all water, bro." So, yeah, and. I'll have a beer or two, out places, dinner, whatever, but I don't have that acceptance need, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To do it. So when I am now, I just enjoy a beer, and yeah. So I mean, I kind of use the pandemic as like I inadvertently quit drinking.
That would have been a really good idea. Thanks for sharing it now.
So. I didn't even know I did it, which is probably the best part, right?
Probably.
Yeah. I mean, I did. Again, I had one slide back, probably a couple slide back, but then I get my wife like as you're pulled over on the highway puking, and she's like, "You remember like a week ago when you didn't do this dumbass thing? Let's go back." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm there tomorrow." She's like, "Tomorrow's gonna be hungover. I still remember you, how you are, So get through a good 3-day hangover, which is on par for me. Yeah, and it's so much better. I mean, and also at the same time, I switched crews to a crew that does a lot of cardio and weightlifting. 2 things that I also suck at. Mm-hmm. So adding that no hangover in there helps a lot.
Definite bonus.
Yeah. And then I got real nerdy about my heart rate, all of those numbers that you can see. Mm-hmm. And man, 1 or 2 beers will throw recovery off like crazy.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, why am I doing that?
Yeah. Dude, I noticed whenever I stopped drinking, and that was the whole thing, like wake up in the morning, I don't feel like crap. I don't hurt as bad. I mean, obviously I still hurt because it put my body through hell. Yeah. But yeah, I don't hurt near as bad. I sleep way better. The neurofeedback helped with that a ton, by the way. Yeah, just in general, I feel better.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I don't have any urge. I was using it as a emotional crutch. It wasn't so much like a chemical dependency thing for me.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I would say I was probably in the same boat. More of like, I mean, conversation wise, like I know so and so is gonna be there. They're gonna, not necessarily so and so, but a group of people are gonna be there. They're gonna ask, how's your job? How's this? How's that? What's the craziest thing you ran to? All that stuff. And I don't want to honestly answer that.
Yeah. Well, and I've had those conversations too, and I think it kind of depends on who's asking and the way they ask it. Most of the time, I will tell somebody, you really don't want to know.
Yeah.
And then I kind of get a little bit of I could be a dickhead about that.
Yep.
If they're really
that was
my
go-to for a little bit.
Yeah.
I would just fall back on like the absolute
worst call.
And they're like, "What? Are we done with the conversation? You don't want to talk anymore?"
Yeah.
Weird.
Why'd you tap out so early?
Yeah. And so it's still that's not right because
no.
I mean, you guys know dealing with mental health, there's such a thing as secondary trauma.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
you could fuck somebody up by
Yeah.
telling them some of the stuff that we've
Right.
seen.
Which easily.
Right.
Actually, one of the it was a EAP therapist I went and saw, and I started telling about the shit that I had seen at the time. That I was like, "This is fucking with me. Here's what's going on," and like I'm talking to them. And while I finish, this is a couple years on the department, had a call that was similar to how my dad died when I was a kid. Fucking had invasive images, and then my brain replaced the patient with my dad's image in my head. I'm like, "Fuck, I should go talk to somebody." Went and I used the department's EAP. Sent me to a therapist that had no idea what they were doing, and
Probably was a great therapist for everybody
anyone
else.
else.
Yeah.
Anybody
else.
Yeah.
told them about the call I ran. Didn't like warn them about it, but as I'm talking to them, I'm like realizing like halfway into the session, I'm like, something's wrong with them. This is like, oh, it's what I'm saying fucking them up. And I was like, are you okay?
There's levels to this game.
I was like, are you okay?
Yeah.
And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, you seem like you're not okay. They're like, I'm going to have to go see my therapist about everything you just told me. I was like,
You would not believe how common that is.
well,
Yeah.
I use as an excuse of, well, therapy's bullshit.
So
that's
right,
also
right.
really common.
Really common too.
Right?
Speaking of really common.
So across the board, a lot of times we can, as soon as there's a bullshit flag, just bing, raises up.
Then everything else is bullshit
I
associated
divert.
with it. I'm out.
You know what I mean? Which I have said it 1,000 times. It's my first time saying it here, so I'll just roll with it. With the Battle Within, it's built from guys who are tired of those bullshit flags. They were tired of that process, coming back from deployment and going directly in with Nana to do, cut color squares out of, whatever. So removing those bullshit flags, if you go in and you shake your therapist's hand and they're like, hey, first off, I just want to thank you for your service. I'm fucking done.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
You shouldn't have to give your therapist a trigger warning.
Right. Or, whatever it is that just sets you like, okay, we're done talking. As soon as they get on the thank you for your service. Like we're not here for that.
Yeah.
Like
Now you just made it awkward. Now I want to fucking leave.
I need to get in the trenches with you. Right. And go through, and that I need on the other side, I need some kind of an answer. Right.
Yeah.
Because for my therapist, I don't want my therapist to put me like in a weird pedestal that I don't feel like I fucking belong on at all. And it makes everything awkward.
Right.
It's like, okay, now I can't. The connection possibility is fucking gone.
Yeah.
Like absolutely gone.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the important thing, or one of the important things for people to understand in our line of work is that there are people out there, there are therapists out there and counselors out there and programs out there that deal specifically with our brand of stupid, that know us, that have spent years working with this population.
They're prepared.
And they are prepared, and they will throw the bullshit flag on you.
Right.
Which is kind of what a majority of us need.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But so they know. And just because you might go to little Susie, the therapist who is mostly counseling kids, it doesn't make her a bad therapist, just not the therapist for you.
Yeah, not her lane, yeah.
And it's not, and even if you go see whoever, that may be first responder, centric or whatever, and it's not a good fit.
Yep.
Okay. The important part is keep trying. Go to a different therapist. Go to a different program.
I've done it.
Eventually you will find something that works, because one treatment modality does not work for everybody.
Right.
Talk therapy may work for you. You might need EMDR or equine assisted therapy or neurofeedback or go down the list.
Or more than one.
And
that's okay.
Yep.
It is okay.
Yeah. Now, how do we pay for that?
That's a good question.
Right.
I mean, insurance is only going to pay for so much.
Right.
We all know that.
So there are programs out there that you can, but you have to reach out.
Yeah.
Right. You have to set that ball in motion.
But here's my question to that, or my statement to that. What's it worth to you?
Right. Dude.
Who's going to pay for it is the
funny.
last of my worries when somebody's sitting there with a gun to their head.
Yep. Yeah.
That can be figured out.
Yep.
And what else are you going to do in that time? You've been fucking it up for a while.
Yeah.
right? We would be having this conversation.
Yeah.
Right?
How important is being able to see your kid grow up?
Yep.
And that theme, the Battle Within, is free for all participants, 100%.
Yeah.
No one pays for anything.
You don't fill out a credit card or an insurance or in case you really get deep here. Yeah. We got to, get to another level. We need your insurance. No, none of that.
Yeah.
Like and that was, again, when I had the conversation with Ryan, that was one of the things. I'm like, I feel like, I've looked into these things before and they're like, we need your insurance. And my first thought is, okay, insurance, that's going to get back to my job. I don't need, come to find out they're okay with,
yeah.
It's
not like we're cops.
Right.
They're not going to take our axe away.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. They might. It's like, who
in
knows?
the military,
you guys get axes? What?
Yeah. In the military, so in the Air Force, it was one of the things coming back from deployments. If you answer the questions of, hey, is anything bothering you? Do you feel stressed? Anything at all? If you answered yes to anything, you go talk to somebody. You lost your security clearance and you couldn't do your fucking job, which is why it's hard for the military to say, hey, we take mental health seriously, but we're going to punish you if you have any issues.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. But come to our 8-hour don't drink and drive suicide prevention class put on by an E1.
Yeah. Who actually still can't legally drink or drive.
Who has deer in the headlights because this is the most rank in a room that he's ever seen. And he's saying, please don't kill yourself right now.
This will look so bad on my performance report.
Oh, don't get me into performance reports. Yeah. So that what are you going to do with that time?
Yeah.
I mean, how many years have just in saying that honestly yourself, how many years have you been fucking this up?
Yep.
Right? How many more chances is your girlfriend, your spouse, your whoever going to give you, and it's one of the things that was brought up in the conversation with Ryan. I was like, it's a week, man. Like, and he goes, dude, you've done worse things in a week. Like, you made a lot worse decisions with your shithead friends and you went full steam into it. Like, you're a guy in the military. I know that that's happened.
Yeah.
Here,
hold my beer. No, wait, give me another one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And come with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a week of trying.
What's it cost you?
Right.
You might be mentally healthy.
Yeah. I mean, it's a week of someone else saying, hey, let's do this, this, and this. Not that it's going to be your jam, but it might be.
Yeah.
And hey, if it's not tomorrow, we have other stuff.
And you might pick up that one little thing that might make a little bit of a difference. And the next day, one more little thing.
Yeah.
They all add up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, yeah, and that's another thing is the whole celebrate the small victories.
Absolutely.
And the small incremental changes.
Yep.
Because it doesn't always have to be huge and big and earth-shattering.
Yeah. And like for me personally, I saw it with my kids. They spill something. They, run the RC car through the screen door, and I'm not like, who the,
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, buddy, let's throttle that. First off, we got to run to Lowe's. So get in the truck, right? And they're like, do they have paddles there? Like why would,
Am I carving my own paddle?
Right. So that kind of reaction where they're like, they go from, this isn't, war zone extreme. You fucked up. Why would you do that? To shit, that's a good jump. Too bad it went through the screen door, buddy.
That would have been awesome if it was outside.
Yeah. And having those conversations with your kid, when they're upset or they mess up and they start crying and you're like, dude, what was that? And they're like, you're going to be mad at me. Like, oh, man.
Yeah.
I'm that big of a dickhead, that the issue was small, but your thought of what my reaction is going to be is what has you scared. Right. Like, so, whoa.
Yeah. That's a kick in the dick.
And you don't see that until afterwards.
Turn
right?
the mic towards your face.
Sorry. You don't see that till afterwards when you're like, you don't react like that. You don't, take it to an 8 when it's really just a 3.
Yeah.
Right. And your kids are going, I think he's going to yell, Xbox is leaving for a week. It's like, oh, okay. Teachable moment. Both sides. One, we can talk through this. Let's, let's understand why we don't run the RC car in the house.
Exactly.
Right? Because the screen door.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing. So, but it sucks.
Putting a new screen in?
Understanding how big of a dickhead you were before.
If you don't have the right tool, it sucks to put
Yeah.
the screen in
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. The tools is
you got to have it.
Easiest.
Yeah.
The easiest thing to go off of is like, you know, and they say it, you know, in the Battle Within is a lot of this stuff is your coping that you learned.
Mm-hmm.
Like some of this stuff is incredibly simple, and you probably already knew some of it.
Mm-hmm.
But when you put the science up there, and you show people this, and this,
do this, and here's why.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's
Use a wrench for this particular thing.
Yeah.
You don't need a hammer for everything.
Right. And like I said, for me, that the backslides have been shitty because I feel like I'm double down on myself. And then the reality of how I was before, right, how I reacted was pretty shitty, you know, and realizing that. But then also realizing that information only came to me because I was getting better, you know. And now my kids come to me and say, "Hey, this is what I did," right? And they're not scared to talk to me. They're not, you know, or this happened at school or whatever the case is, right? And they don't think that I'm looking for a reason for them to be in trouble or, you know, upset.
Well, and on the other side of that, which I'm sure you probably thought about it, is you're teaching them about ownership of owning their mistakes instead of trying to hide it and lie and all of that other stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, so I have 2 toddlers. I've got a 4-year-old and a 2.5-year-old.
You poor bastard.
You're in it.
It's fun. They're my, what do I call them? Twin tornadoes of cuteness, cuddles, and destruction. Mostly destruction. Cuddles, kind of, sometimes.
Yeah.
But both of them were born whenever I went through the Battle Within. And one of my motivations for all of my mental health journey that I've been doing for the last few years has been, I know I've not been doing it right, and I don't want to show my boys me doing it wrong as an example of what they should do. I want to be a good example or a better example than I would have been. I'm not perfect. I still fuck up on a regular basis. There's still times where I do something, I'm like, I just backslid. But I have to remember, it's not where I was. Nowhere near where I was. Like, I'll feel it rising up, and I'm like, okay, you're getting angry. Why are you getting angry? It's nothing. It's not a big deal. Just chill the fuck out. It's cool. Breathe. Oh, yeah, I forgot to breathe. I just took a couple breaths. Holy shit, I feel better.
Yep. It's that whole self-awareness thing. It's kind of important.
So, like, going through the battle with them, we were yoga.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we do a little yoga.
Mm-hmm.
And going through it, the guy that teaches yoga, he was talking about, okay, try to relax this, and we had just talked about being aware of your physical reactions as you start to have whatever emotion it is you're feeling. If you're angry, what happens first in your body? When we're doing yoga, I realized that my default, if I get stressed, angry, activated in whatever fucking way, I push my tongue to the roof of my mouth before I clench my jaw, before I clench my fists. And so, like, he's like, now relax your tongue off the roof of your mouth. I'm like, how the fuck did he know my tongue was? Oh, he deals with us on a regular basis.
We're all the same.
Shit.
Yeah.
That's
so
sneaky.
self-awareness of that, like, just kind of popping in. But yeah, trying to go back to the worst thing you've ever seen. I'm not going to tell my story of that. But I used to do the exact same thing. I'm like, I'm going to tell them the most fucked up thing I've seen so they don't ever ask anyone that question ever again.
Mm-hmm.
Try not to be an asshole. Trying to, like, be authentic too. Now to the point where I'm like, hey, you know, I appreciate your curiosity into my career. I really hate that question because you asked that question and 5 of the worst things I've ever seen just popped in my head. And I really don't want to talk about them. That's what I say now. And it's not false because they say it. I'm like, God damn it, it's
Yeah,
all there.
I'm not there
Yeah.
yet.
No,
Yeah. It's
depends on who it is too, and how they ask is the big
Yeah,
thing.
I usually just divert now. I just you know, it's been a while since whatever, anything.
I'll ask them like, worst in what way?
yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, there's multiple versions of worst.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and a lot of that is, like you said, they're curious.
yeah.
They don't know. Kind of the thought that I've had is most people see what they know about the fire service and the military and police departments and, what we do on a daily basis. They learn because they watch Chicago Fire.
So they watch the shows that we don't watch because we're like, okay, this is all bullshit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and there needs to be a letter writing campaign to Hollywood to stop fucking shit up.
They're not going to, there's no way they're going to have a fire show where
It's reality.
it's reality. When you walk in, you can't see a fucking thing. They're not going to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be cool for us. We're like, yeah, that's how it really is.
Yeah.
Look, look.
Or every shift you go pick up that same person.
Yeah.
And you know them by name. You know the house. Like,
Yeah. Address comes out. You're like, all right.
It would be.
And I bet after this,
Worst.
they go to Quick Trip.
Yeah.
I love this part.
Someone called in, someone sleeping on the side of the road. Let's film that. No.
Yeah.
Ran that call the other day a bunch.
Yeah. So yeah, but with that, my kids now, so with meditation and thing, again, probably my biggest hurdle is sticking with meditation. Like I'm not good at it. Oh, I don't think I'm good at it. I guess being good at it is just the repetitive nature of trying.
I think it's subjective.
Right. So, but I get a little scatterbrained. So I have, my own way of doing things, right? What's worked for me. Personally, I use one of those spiky mat things. What's that? Acupuncture mat things,
Acupressure?
No?
Acupressure.
Never heard of it.
It's a mat, and it has all these little spiky things, and you lay your back on it.
Okay.
And then in that, like you just notice, like, okay, one, it hurts like a mofo. So like whatever you're thinking about is gone, right? And you realize where you're tense, and then you can actively release that, and then the next thing that's tense, actively, and then I can start with that's my back is loose now. Now I'll start at my feet, right? And then I go kind of like through Cole's, whole deal. And then I'm like, fuck, I'm 10 minutes in, right? And so then, usually that's about what I can get without my kids barging in and wanting to wrestle and everything else. But then they start asking, hey, what are you doing? Can I try that? And now my daughter, she sees it and she's like, oh, we're doing that tonight, right? Like, okay.
Yes, we are.
And then so now I instructed her, she's like, okay, well, I just lay on it. I'm like, yep, you're going to lay out, you're going to feel tense because it has a pain to it. And I said, but you're going to breathe and you're going to feel what's tense and you're going to relax, like just kind of let it melt. And you're going to see her do that. And then, okay, now think about this and this. And then 10 minutes has gone by, right? And she's like, did we do it right? I'm like, you did it, so you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then my son, he purely does it so he can go afterwards, look at the mirror and see all the... He's like,
It's a start.
Have I laid here long enough to
Yeah.
get the little red pokey things on my back?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, you're good, dude. Hop up.
He is a boy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, for me with meditation, one of my failings in it is I'm like, oh, I need to meditate today. And then my ADD kicks in, and I was like, oh, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this. And later today, I'm like, why am I fucking stressed? I feel fucking tense everywhere. I was supposed to meditate. I didn't do that.
And some of the frustrating part is there are people out there, I say guys again, sorry, people out there who can talk about it. They can talk about the layers to it. They can talk about, everything. William is one of those guys.
Yep.
And you talk to him and he's like, he's done it. He's tried different ways. There's layers to this thing, and you see him, again, that's one of the things being a mentor. You're privy to, these group conversations where, after a meditation session, guys will come up and ask him questions and you're like, you're supposed to be, you're there to help. And you're like, hold on, say that part again. Taking notes.
Yeah.
And, there's the longevity of it, because William is extremely well spoken, and he nerds out on things. So this is just his jam. Like, he figured out what works, and there's layers to it. There's he's the different practices and history of it and all this stuff. And to talk to him about it, and I'm like, how can I get I want to be where you're at, and you're like,
without the effort you put in.
Right.
Well, I mean, that's
right. So, but like
for me,
yeah.
In order for it to work, I don't have to be where he's at. He'll tell you that. Like, this is my path. This is what my jam. This is what I've gone down, and that's kind of how my processes work. He goes, you just have to keep on, like,
yeah,
It's just like the whole therapy thing, man. Different things work for different people. So it might be 10 minutes for you. It might be meditating with music. It might be the spiky thing. So
it might be just sitting in a quiet room.
Exactly. It might be doing wood burning.
Yeah.
Or playing a guitar.
Yeah.
It's different. Meditation, that's one of those things. Meditation is like, there's so many different definitions of it and different ways to do it. And who's to say one's better than the other?
Yeah.
Right.
If it works for you, it works for you.
Yeah.
There was a guy in one of the cohorts who was asking a question about meditation, and he's asking kind of just in a group setting. He was asking the mentors. He was like, "Yeah, so when I was meditating, I saw this." I'm like, "That sounds fucking amazing. I'm jealous as shit." I'm like, "William, where the fuck is William? So we can ask him."
Yeah, and then William gives you an answer that you need, like that pop-up video bubble.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, dumb it down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's say you're talking to someone who doesn't know language. And
English is new for them.
Yeah. No, he is my go-to.
Meditation is new for them. Both of those are new.
Yeah.
Let's start there.
Yeah. And just speaking about William, he's a guy that I've learned there's layers to conversation, right? Completely open dude. Probably comes across as, I wouldn't say standoffish, but guarded maybe at first. But man, you can get in the trenches with that guy.
I love conversations with him.
Yeah.
Like, they'll go anywhere. Like, anywhere.
Yeah.
And you're like, I did not expect this to go here.
But
I'm loving it. So why not?
His, and not to dig in everything, but some of his life experiences and things that are going on, especially with the world today, like, you can full on ask questions, full send, and he's not offended. He'll come back. This is what I thought at first too. This is what I felt when when this happened, and it all comes back to, I think, that meditation. He's just in a good space. He's in control.
Yeah.
He doesn't fluctuate like,
And he found something that worked for him, and he fucking dove into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and he's a busy dude. Like, you talk to him, he's like, "Oh yeah, and I had lunch with so and so," and you talk about, I hope so and so. Oh yeah, I dinner with them the other. Like, shit, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's in it. He's a good dude. So.
And who is he?
William, and he's one of the mentors with Battle Within.
Okay.
And he Air Force veteran, and he, like I said, one of his jams is meditation, and there's layers to that game. It's yeah. So, but he's kind of heading up an avenue of that with the Battle Within.
Okay. So what all, if you could just give me like a brief, like overview of what a cohort, because that's what it's called, right?
Yep.
Cohort.
So,
what it entails. You said, Monday through Friday.
Yep. Monday through Friday. So you get there, 9 or 10ish?
We get there at 9 or 10. They get there at 11, usually 10 or 11.
Yeah. So then, there's introductions. Nate Majors, he will, for the guy's side, will kind of go through introductions, kind of what's going to happen, all the safety stuff. There's a set of rules that everyone agrees to. The biggest thing, and I think that the binder to everything in that is unconditional positive regard. Right? Like, just being, like, you might not agree with what you just said, but this isn't the time or the place to argue about it. We just need to give that dude space.
I'm gonna hold the space for him, no matter what he says. If I agree with it or not,
Right.
I'm here.
Yeah.
Man.
When the floor is yours, the floor is yours. Right. And there's some other, no war stories. If it's part of your story, yes, but understand that like people might have, I hate the word triggers, but people might have reactions to whatever you're saying. Right.
Yeah.
So, but and then so Monday is really kind of an overview. You do dive into some stuff. Tuesday, you're in it. It's a long, heavy day. Wednesday, you kind of get into more of the sciences, that's behind the actual workings of why we can sit here and say, oh, we're all the same. Weird that worked.
Yeah,
because
and there's little tidbits of that the entire way through, but like really dive into it then.
Yeah. And then Thursday is the equestrian day, that kind of thing. And then there's more to that also, But really, my overview, if I was to say the claim to fame for them is that they don't stick to one path per se. Like they're not War Horses for Veterans. Great place. But I mean, it's in their name, right? They're like, it's equestrian, right?
Yeah.
And again, there's layers to that, right?
Yeah.
There's different avenues, there are different programs you can get with them, but that's their deal, right?
Yeah.
For the Battle Within, they kind of just put you're just kind of throwing racquetballs, and seeing which ones you kind of catch, right? So whether that's the group talk, whether that's meditation, yoga, whatever it is, being in nature, not being in the traffic every day, getting up, doing an hour drive. Like some people realize and I did, holy shit, man, I just woke up and I just walked from this space to this space and it was outside and I didn't get in my vehicle, which is hard for me. I love cars. So it's hard for me to admit that. I just simply got my shoes on and we walked from here to there and I was in nature. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really, it's just taking a bunch of racquetballs, throwing them back and forth and seeing which ones you catch, what's your jam. Right.
Yeah.
And then unexpectedly, that's kind of one of my things that I fell into was a part-time job with Casey Cattle Company. And unbeknownst to me, I thought I was just going to be working with a bunch of cool dudes. It is that. But then being outside and being around veterans who are doing good, right, who are working, ridiculously working, and being outside and being in that environment and showing up and being outside. It's weird. And the guys on my shift give me a hard time. Do you get to ride a horse? I'm like, and I haven't even killed anyone yet. It's nothing like Yellowstone. It's not what I signed up for. You have to earn the hat. I don't know what you got to do. Maybe if I don't know.
I think there's probably a Feldman's close.
I can't do that. I can't. What's that? We brought it up the other day in the Bay. We were talking. What's that? Poser.
Yeah.
Does that hit you? That's 7th grade. Someone that was the deepest dig.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You get a new hat or shirt, and someone's like, "Hey, the fucking poser," and you're like, "Ugh." Right. So I can't do that. I can't just
it's like getting a bell for your bike.
Right.
You can't buy your own one.
Right.
Somebody has to give it to you.
Yeah. So the guys on my shift they give me a hard time. You got to what do they say? Massage the cows today. It's not my particular job, but
or milk.
Yeah.
Bull.
Yes, it's not a dairy farm. Couple bulls. But yeah, that's been awesome for me. And it was just I left a different part-time job and I said, I'm done with it. I'm just going to work my thing. I kind of have a extracurricular hobby of doing some things with cars. So I was like, I'll just, do into that. And my wife's like, please don't do that. It costs money.
Hobby.
Yeah.
So
you saw the Jeep out there.
Yeah.
I went too.
Yeah. I saw the Gladiator.
Yeah. Do you guys have therapists? There's a thing for Jeep people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's called Arkansas.
Yeah, it's called yeah.
So yeah, I got out of it.
We'll talk later.
Got out of a part-time. Yeah, I don't need to be privy with that. I don't need to earmuffs. Got out of a part-time job that I'd worked at for a while, but it was just monotonous, and was kind of wearing on me more than I thought, And my wife really set me down. Was like, "Is this like you used to enjoy this, and now it just seems more frustrating and like, it's that day. Okay, I got to go do that, So, had a conversation with the owner of the company, and I mean, I don't want to say he was cool with it, but I left. He's still a great dude, great company, and I wish him all the best, but it just wasn't my jam anymore, and I was out of work for 2 weeks, and
Part-time work.
Casey Cattle Company was I was a customer. Like I'd go up to the ranch and buy steaks and talk to the guys and kind of bullshitting. Then they posted, "Hey, we need some help." And I talked with my wife, and she was like, "I mean, you've done dumber things."
That's a glowing recommendation.
Yeah. So she's like, basically, like, give it a
Accurate,
try.
though.
Because like, when I went in, I was like, I don't like. It's in the name, cattle.
Yeah, and you grew up in the middle of the city, didn't you?
Well, East Independence, I know what a cornfield looks like, but I don't know, and I went out there, and I mean, I was brutally honest. Like, if you want me to take those things from there to there, like, I'm going to have to Google it, YouTube video, something. So the level for entry is not very high, but the work ethic is amazing. People at, the owner, Pat, he's awesome dude, and people always, come in like, "Oh, are you Pat?" I'm like, "Nope." "Oh, you work for Pat?" No, I work with Pat, because Pat, owner, still working his ass off. The operations guy, everyone there. There's no like realm of hierarchy, I guess you'd say. Like, if someone asks you to do something, it's because they're busy as shit doing something else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And as soon as they're done with that, they're coming back to help you. You know what I mean? It's not like, "Oh, I'm done with my job." Minions.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
E1.
Yeah, E1.
Go teach his class.
Yeah. So I clogged the toilet. No, it's awesome. And I didn't expect it to be as rounded, like helpful wise for me. I just thought it'd be a cool thing to do. I'd never, like I said, I'd never been around cattle before, never done anything like that. So it was awesome. Awesome group of guys. And yeah, so that was unexpected. And I kind of came back, thought about my week and the weeks that I'm into are like, you just pull up and you're just outside. If you got to do something that's over there, like, you walk.
Yeah.
So.
Well, guys, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Billy, why don't we start with you? Closing thoughts.
I thought we were going to start with Craig with that.
No, I started the first start.
Closing thoughts on what? Give me some guidelines here.
It's your closing thoughts,
That's
man.
not fucking fair.
If I tell you what to say, it's not really
They're not
your
really my
closing
thoughts.
Yeah.
I would just say for anybody out there, like, to really, your mental health matters. You absolutely are not alone. Learn to give yourself grace more than fucking anything else. Makes a world of difference. Makes all the difference in the world, to be honest. About all I got.
Craig?
Take that leap. No matter if it's talking with your peer support, if it's talking with a therapist, if it's coming through a Valor, the Battle Within. I mean, there's a bunch of other programs out there, for veterans, for first responders. Just do it. I mean, one of the biggest leap is taking that, even the thought of, oh shit, I do need help. I'm not in charge of this ship right now. Right.
That is a leap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Humble pie. It's not tasty, but it is filling. Yeah, Yeah, and like I mean, we mentioned it before. The worst thing that can happen is that you go and stay with a group of dudes for a week.
Yeah.
So
what do you get to lose?
Yeah, and if you don't mind, I'm
Sure.
going to plug Casey Cattle Company. We are looking for veterans for hire. So
cool.
Check them out online.
Awesome.
Come work with me.
You get to be outside.
Outside?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And we have a retail store also. And I never want to admit that at 40 I'm working retail some days. But we have awesome customers.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, like try on these pants. No, we have awesome customers, and that is the basis of it, right? Customers are awesome. The product is awesome. So it's a good day, whether you're at the ranch or the store.
The product is awesome.
Yeah. Some of the guys get to reap the benefits at the fire station.
That must be nice.
Yeah.
I don't complain about it.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
Nope.
Yeah.
I just keep my mouth shut until it's time to eat.
Yeah. What about you? Closing arguments.
Closing arguments?
Yeah.
I don't have any arguments. But we'll end the show like we do every time. Everybody, thanks for stopping by. If you are struggling, reach out. There are resources out there. They just told you about several of them. Battle Within, Warhorse for Veterans, Valor. I mean, the list goes on.
Even your EAP.
Yeah, even your EAP. That.
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, there are resources out there. If you know somebody that is struggling, and look, we spend a majority of our lives together in the station or in the squad car together or in the same unit or whatever. You know these people. You know if there's something going on. Just open your eyes and look. Reach out to them. Let them know you care. Let them know they're not alone. Let them know what resources are available to them. So everybody take care of yourself. Thanks for stopping by.